Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and salam sejahtera. My name is Nurul Nabilah Binti Muhamad, matric number 23 di Binti 20F1023. My others member are Pooja anak perempuan Ravichandran and Nurul Ain Binti Muhamad Liki. We are from DBT 4A. Our topic is human clinical trials, which is conducting clinical trials in sub-Saharan Africa, challenges and lessons learned from the Malawi Cryptosporidium Study. This is a journal that we were choosing, which is conducting clinical trial in sub-Saharan Africa, challenges and lessons learned from the Malawi Cryptosporidium Study. This is our contents. Firstly, we have the definition of social and ethical issue. Next, introduction of this topic. Next, social and ethical issue. Next, suggestion in solving. And then we have conclusion and references. Now I will continue to the definition of social issue and ethical issue. Firstly, what is definition of social issue? Social issue are the problems that affect a larger number of people, and the major thing is that the individual in the society may not have the control over this problem. Social issues also differ from one society to another depending on several reasons. A social issue may be caused due to geographical, educational, economical, or political reasons. Next, we go to the definition of ethical issue. Ethics is the moral conduct or the moral philosophy of individuals through which they identify what is good and bad or what is right and wrong. Ethics define the way how to live in a morally accepted manner. Ethics can be considered as a universal phenomenon, and each society has its own ethic conduct.
Hello and a very good day. I am Pooja Ravichandran and my matrix number is 23DBT20F1006. Now I will be continuing our presentation on the introduction to the topic. So basically, the journal is about a study conducted at Malawi in sub-Saharan Africa where the challenges and lessons learned from the study was described in the journal. The journal is basically about an effective drug to treat 66 subjects who have Cryptosporidial diarrhea in HIV-infected individuals who have been going through diarrhea for more than 3 or more days and who met all the inclusion and none of the exclusion criteria that were described for the study, and all these subjects were enrolled for 9 months for the study.
Now, I'm Nurul Nabilah. We'll continue with social and ethical issue. Firstly is beneficence. For beneficence, a challenge is high mortality rate. In these resources limited setting, the team found that many subjects who fit the inclusion and exclusions criteria were extremely ill and some did not survive the study period. The example of high mortality rate in this lesson journal is subject with diarrhea, HIV, and Cryptosporidium had CD4 counts uniformly under 100 and had multiple underlying health conditions which lead to death while the trial. This is because the mortality rate was high at the end of the trial. The second social and ethical issue is non-maleficence. For the non-beneficiaries, a challenge is study population health. In the lesson learned from the study population health, there are three lessons learned, which is potential participants were severely immune compromised and had multiple opportunistic infections. Next is them failing on ARV treatments, so the patient will have problem choosing for the study.
Now I'll be talking about the social and ethical issues from the view of justice and autonomy. There were few things happened during the study was conducted that lead to the situations to be non-justical, and some of them didn't serve the purpose of autonomy in the study. So let's look on the justice side first. Firstly, the lab equipment, staff and facility couldn't be gained on time. Next, financial and human capacity leads to delay in the study. And then there were delay in regulatory and ethical reviews. Then competing demand also occurred. Several logistical, operational, and implementation challenges occurred, and there was shortage for lab equipment, and it was very hard to do the lab testings to determine the results gained from the study from the subjects that were studied during the study period. So these will all happen because the place was a rural area and it was very hard to gain access, to get transportation, to get the equipments needed, and to do everything because it wasn't a modern city for us to gain access easily. It was very rural area and it was very hard to gain and get all the access. Next, autonomy. So the study staffs didn't get a chance to get holiday and weekends because the study extended the period that was determined before as planned, because there were all kind of problems happening and it affected the time period of the study conducted, so the staffs didn't get holiday and weekends. Next, the subjects had no choice when it comes to consuming the supplements because the drugs only came in capsules, so it was very hard for some of them to consume it. So that was one difficulty that happened during the time, and the subjects didn't had the choice to actually choose not to have it because they were chosen for the study and they can't go back because there were few tests were conducted on the patients, on the subjects, that made them capable of joining the study, and when they didn't choose to do it, there will be another selection and it will drag the time period of the study and it will affect the whole study period and everything overall, so it will be very hard for them.
My name is Nurul. I am Binti Liki. For now, I will present about suggestion in solving for beneficence and non-beneficence. For beneficence have three. First, the underlying health condition of the patients whom are having the higher HIV and Cryptosporidium should have been treated and taken into consideration before taking them as a subject in the study to reduce the mortality rates. Second, before study begins, get input from experienced in-country clinicians about expected mortality rates for the specific population. And lastly, ensure that clinicians refer very ill subjects to appropriate clinics to ensure proper care and management. For the maleficents also have three. First, the patient should be treated and their immune should be checked. Second, ensure consultation with expert clinicians. And lastly, consider ramification of potential participants failing first-line ARV treatment to eligible for second-line treatment, which is identified in exclusion criteria, rendering them ineligible.
Let's talk about suggestions in solving. So firstly, let's view from the perspective of justice. The study team, including partners, should collaborate so that the study runs smoothly throughout the whole 9 months period of time. Next, they need to develop close communication with suppliers so that there won't be any shortage and so that they can contact the suppliers as soon as they are running out of equipments. Next, they need to maintain close contact with technical personnel from suppliers. They need to identify backup labs early so that they can always test the samples of the subjects at the right time and so that the study won't last for a longer period of time than it should be. Next, they need to provide expert training to work with the site lab personnel. They also need to consider sending lab personnel to lab partners, and they need to develop a backup plan so that if this plan flops, they can go on and carry on the study without any interruption. Next, they also need to ensure an adequate and ongoing supply of reagents so that they don't run out of any reagents that would be very difficult for them to find in a place that is not developed fully, and it will be very hard for them to find it in the last minute. Next, let's look at the perspective of autonomy. They need to ensure that protocol is in line with work schedules. Next, they need to perform quick assessment before study initiation, and they need to adjust supplement if needed. Ensuring that protocol is in line with work schedule help the staffs to get more rest, and adjusting supplement if needed so that the patients can receive the supplement without any problems.
Next, I will present about the conclusions. The Malawi Cryptosporidium Study in an example of successful human experimental trial conducted in a low-income country. Barriers to the conduct of clinical trial in developing countries have been systematically reviewed and fall under 5 unifying themes. First, lack of financial and human capacity, ethical and regulatory system obstacles, lack of research environments, operational barriers, and lastly, competing limits. However, few of the clinical trials listed in the review were from Africa and even fewer from the last developed country as designated by the Development Assistance Committee, which is DAC. Sub-Saharan Africa countries face enormous challenges in conducting high-quality clinical trials. However, in the case of the Cryptosporidium trial in Malawi, the study team encountered challenges particularly in the area of regulatory system and operational barriers, but were able to overcome most. As a result, the capacity at the investigational site for conducting clinical trial was built and strengthened. This was particularly true in relation to the site's capabilities and clinical service, data management, pharmacy, study coordination, governance, and human resources. The challenges, lessons, and recommendations from Cryptosporidium are specific to the study's context, but might prove useful to other human experimental trials in sub-Saharan Africa. And lastly, this is the references for our topic today. Thank you.